Ever feel like understanding the energy future is, well, incredibly complex, like you need a decoder ring?
Yeah, it definitely can feel that way sometimes.
Well, what if there was a bit of a fast track? Today, we're doing a deep dive into Chile's potential for a sustainable energy system. We're focusing specifically on a study called The Impact of Renewable Energy and Sector Coupling on the Pathway Towards a Sustainable Energy System in Chile.
That's right. And this particular study used the LUT energy system transition model. It looked at 4 different scenarios for how Chile's energy future could unfold.
Chile is such an interesting place to look at for this, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, they're still quite reliant on fossil fuels now, and that causes, real air pollution problems.
Significant issues there.
But then they've got these huge reserves of copper and lithium things we need for green tech. Plus, they have these ambitious climate goals already set, and, of course, just massive potential for renewable energy.
Especially solar.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to unpack this specific study. What are the crucial insights it gives us about Chile's path forward? How could they power their future sustainably, according to this research?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so first big question. This study, does it suggest a 100% renewable system is even, possible for Chile?
Yes, it actually does. One of the core findings is that a 100% renewable energy system by 2050 is technically feasible.
Practically feasible? Okay. But what about the cost? That's always the big sticking point.
Well, here's the really interesting part. This study suggests it could actually be more cost efficient than their current policy plan for reaching carbon neutrality by 2050.
Wait, more cost efficient? Really? So the idea that going fully green is automatically more expensive.
Yeah.
This study flips that.
It certainly challenges that assumption, yes.
Yeah.
It suggests sticking with the current plan might end up costing more in the long run.
That's quite a finding.
It is. And this study goes even further. It suggests that in that 100% renewable scenario, Chile might even hit carbon neutrality much earlier, maybe by 2030.
2030. Wow. And potentially become a negative greenhouse gas emitter, actually removing CO2 by 2035.
Okay, so not just stopping pollution, but reversing it in a way. That's seriously ambitious. So if they go this route, what's the main technology driving it all, according to this study?
It's overwhelmingly solar photovoltaics, right. PV. This study projects that in a 100% renewable system by 2050, solar PV would generate something like 86% of all electricity.
86%. That's almost everything. And what does that mean for, the total energy the country uses?
Well, that 86% of electricity generation would cover about 83% of Chile's total final energy demand in 2050, across all sectors, heat, transport, everything.
That's incredible dominance from solar. And you mentioned their potential is huge. Does this study say how much of that potential this scenario actually uses?
Yeah, that's another key point. This massive solar deployment would still only use around 10% of Chile's estimated techno-economic renewable energy potential.
Only 10%. So they're barely scratching the surface, even with this huge build-out. Exactly. The potential is just vast. Yeah. And this study also points out a significant role for PV prosumers.
Prosumers, so people generating their own solar power. Homes, businesses.
Yes. This study projects they could generate about 59 terawatt hours by 2050 in each scenario looked at. That's quite substantial.
So it's a mix of big solar farms and lots of smaller distributed generation. Okay. Solar's a star player, clearly. But what else does this study say is needed? What are the other crucial bits for making this sustainable system work?
This study highlights 3 really vital elements. First, you need very high levels of renewable electrification everywhere. Power generation, heating, transport, even desalination.
Electrify everything, basically.
Pretty much. Second, you need flexibility. Lots of it. That comes from connecting the grid better, both within Chile and potentially beyond. And importantly, sector coupling.
Sector coupling. Okay, we need to unpack that one a bit.
Right. And the third element is producing fuels based on renewable energy. Things like green hydrogen, often called power-to-X or PTX.
Okay, let's circle back to sector coupling. Can you paint a picture of what that actually means in practice?
Sure. Think about today's system. Your electricity grid, your gas network for heating, the petrol stations for cars. They're mostly separate, right?
Yeah, totally separate worlds.
Sector coupling links them. So if you have tons of cheap solar power being generated, maybe more than the grid needs right that second.
Instead of wasting it.
Exactly. Use it for something else. You could power heat pumps to heat buildings, or run electrolyzers to make green hydrogen fuel, or charge electric car batteries. It's about using energy smartly across the whole system, not just in isolated silos. Makes everything much more efficient and flexible.
Got it. Connecting the dots between different energy uses. Makes sense. And what does this study say are the key things that make this whole transition cost-effective? The enablers.
Well, this study points to three main things. Number one, no surprise, is solar PV technology itself becoming so cheap.
Right.
Second is zonal interconnection. The study actually modeled Chile as 6 different zones, and connecting these zones efficiently with transmission lines is key.
So getting the power from, say, the sunny north to the cities further south.
Precisely. And the third enabler is that full sectoral integration we just talked about, sector coupling.
Okay, so cheap solar, good connections, and using the energy smartly across sectors. Let's dive into those sectors. What does this study see happening specifically in electricity generation?
A huge increase in the total installed capacity, and like we said, it becomes dominated by solar PV. Fossil fuels basically phase out completely in the 100% renewable scenarios.
Okay. And heating. You mentioned that's a big source of pollution now. How does that change according to this study?
This study sees a major shift, moving away from burning fossil fuels or even biomass for heat, and instead using direct electric heating or, more efficiently, heat pumps.
Heat pumps powered by that renewable electricity.
Exactly. And heat storage, like hot water tanks, but maybe bigger scale too, becomes really important to manage when the heat is needed versus when the power is generated.
Makes sense. Cleaner air in the cities too, presumably.
Mm-hmm.
What about fuels for trickier stuff like big trucks, ships, planes, industry? What does this study suggest there?
That's where Power to X, or PTX, becomes crucial, according to this study.
Okay.
The idea is you use renewable electricity to create sustainable fuels. Green hydrogen is a big one, made through water electrolysis.
Using electricity to split water.
Right. And then you can use that hydrogen directly or combine it with, say, carbon captured from the air or industry to make synthetic methane gas or even liquid fuels. This study specifically mentions Fischer-Tropsch processes for making fuels suitable for shipping and aviation.
Wow. Okay. So renewable electricity becomes the basis for creating liquid fuels. That's pretty advanced stuff. What about transport overall, according to this study?
Well, the total amount of energy needed for transport is projected to go down in this study, mainly because electric vehicles are just much more efficient than combustion engines.
Right. Less energy wasted as heat.
Exactly. But the electricity demand for transport goes up significantly, both for charging EVs directly and for producing those PTX fuels we just talked about. Liquid fossil fuels get phased out and replaced by these sustainable alternatives.
And desalination. That's vital for Chile, especially mining in dry areas. Where does its energy come from in this study's vision?
This study sees desalination capacity, mostly reverse osmosis, increasing quite a bit to meet rising water demand from cities, industry, and agriculture. And crucially, all that new capacity is powered by renewable electricity.
So clean energy powering the provision of clean water.
Yeah.
A nice synergy.
Definitely.
Now, the study looked at Chile in 6 zones. What did it find about how electricity generation changes in those different regions?
Yes, it modeled the shift from 2015 out to 2050 for each zone. The main story is solar PV becoming dominant pretty much everywhere, but especially in the northern zones, like the Atacama Desert region, which have the best sunshine.
Makes sense.
Existing hydropower, which Chile has a fair amount of, plays more of a balancing role, helping to manage the variability of solar.
And connecting those zones is important.
Absolutely critical, according to this study. You need strong grid connections to move that abundant solar power from the north, where it's generated most cheaply, down to the central zone where most people live and where a lot of the industry is. It helps balance supply and demand across the whole country.
Okay, let's really nail down this sector coupling idea.
Mm-hmm.
Can you contrast the energy system of, say, 2015 in this study with the 2050 vision in the best case scenario?
Sure. This study paints the 2015 system as quite centralized and, importantly, decoupled. Different energy types didn't interact much, leading to quite a bit of energy waste.
Right, the separate silos we talked about.
Exactly. Yeah. In contrast, the projected 2050 system in the 100% renewable scenario, they call it BPS 100RE in this study, is fully integrated.
And what does that look like? What are the components working together?
It's electricity, heat, and those synthetic fuels all working hand in glove. And you have lots of flexibility options built in. Batteries for quick short-term balancing, pumped hydro storage and thermal energy storage for longer durations, gas storage likely for hydrogen or synthetic methane for seasonal balancing. And those power-to-heat and power-to-X units themselves provide flexibility by converting electricity when it's abundant.
It sounds like a much smarter, more dynamic system.
Yeah.
What holds it all together, according to this study? What are the absolute core pieces?
This study really emphasizes two things: low-cost renewable electricity, mainly solar as the primary energy source, and green hydrogen as a really versatile energy carrier, linking power with fuels and industry.
Okay, now the big question again. Money, dollars and cents. How do the costs compare across the different scenarios this study looked at?
Well, this study compared the total annual cost of running the energy system in each scenario, and it found that the 100% renewable scenarios actually become cheaper overall than the current policy scenario sometime after 2035.
Cheaper after 2035. So there's maybe more upfront investment needed for all the renewables and grids.
Exactly. The cost structure shifts dramatically according to this study. Instead of spending lots on fossil fuels year after year, you spend more on the initial capital investment for solar plants, wind turbines, batteries, electrolyzers, and grids, plus ongoing operation and maintenance.
But the fuel, the sun, the wind is free.
Precisely. So the long-term running costs come down. This study also looked at the levelized cost of electricity, the LCOE.
Right, the sort of all-in cost per unit of electricity.
Yeah, and by 2050, the LCOE is projected to be lower in the best policy, 100% renewable scenarios compared to the current policy scenario.
So higher initial investment for the fully renewable paths, yes. But this study suggests potential long-term savings, plus all the benefits of cleaner air and, not wrecking the climate.
That's the argument the study makes. The higher total investment is offset by lower fuel costs and reduced externalities over time, making it increasingly attractive economically.
Okay, and the ultimate goal, greenhouse gas emissions. What does this study project? How do the scenarios compare?
This study breaks down the projected GHG emissions for each scenario, sector by sector. The key finding is that the 100% RE scenarios are fully aligned with the Paris Agreement's 1.5 degrees Celsius warming target.
Fully aligned. That's significant.
Very. And as we mentioned, this study suggests they could hit carbon neutrality by 2030 and potentially go net negative by 2035. It really puts the scale of possible transformation into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. And the contrast with the current policy scenario in this study.
This study indicates the current policy path is not aligned with the 1.5 degree target. So business as usual, or even the current level of ambition, isn't enough according to this analysis.
So Chile has this massive opportunity outlined in this study. What are the specific advantages they have, and what are the hurdles they need to overcome?
Well, the opportunities highlighted in this study are pretty clear. Those incredible solar resources in the Atacama are top of the list. The potential for lots of decentralized, small-scale solar is also there. They can build on their existing electrical grid, although it needs expansion. And that synergy between solar power and desalination for the mining industry is a big plus.
Right.
This study also suggests Chile could really become a global player, a hub for exporting green hydrogen or other renewable-based fuels and chemicals.
A potential green energy export powerhouse.
Potentially, yes. But there are definitely challenges noted in this study, too.
Like what?
Well, socio-environmental concerns. Large-scale mining, even for transition minerals, has impacts. Big solar farms and new transmission lines can also face local opposition or environmental hurdles. Social acceptance is key.
The not my backyard issue, even for green projects.
It can be, yes. Then there's the regulatory side, especially for prosumers. How do you fairly pay people for the solar they feed back to the grid? Net billing policies need work, this study suggests. Making renewable heating solutions truly cost competitive against existing options is another challenge. And then there are the broader political, institutional, and maybe even cultural barriers to such a rapid and fundamental shift.
So it's definitely not just a technical puzzle. It's social, economic, political too. Given all that, what does this study actually recommend Chile do? What are the policy levers?
This study offers a pretty concrete list. Things like invest heavily in expanding transmission capacity, implement bans on fossil fuel use in certain sectors over time, actively support sector coupling in those power-to-X technologies, reform the rules for prosumers, maybe using feed-in tariffs.
Okay, so direct financial incentives.
Right. Also, increase CO2 taxes to make emissions more expensive. Find ways to lower the cost of financing for renewable projects, the WACC. support district heating networks, and the uptake of heat pumps. Importantly, find ways to get communities involved and ensure they benefit from local energy projects.
Community involvement, yeah, that sounds crucial for social acceptance.
And finally, this study recommends that when policymakers analyze the energy transition, they need to look beyond just euros or pesos per kilowatt hour and consider the wider socioeconomic and environmental benefits.
A more holistic view. Good point. And this study finishes with a really important final thought, doesn't it? About the ultimate goal.
Yes, it really emphasizes that just reaching carbon neutrality or net zero might not be enough. To truly align with the Paris goals and achieve genuine long-term sustainability, the aim should be a fully defossilized energy system across all sectors.
So not just balancing the books with offsets, but actually getting rid of fossil fuels entirely from the energy mix.
Exactly. That's the path to real sustainability, eliminating the reliance on finite, polluting resources altogether, according to this study's perspective.
Well, this deep dive into the impact of renewable energy and sector coupling on the pathway towards a sustainable energy system in Chile has been really illuminating. It feels like this study lays out a very clear, technically possible, and potentially even cost-effective roadmap for Chile.
It really does. Embracing renewables, especially solar, and integrating the whole system smartly through sector coupling, that seems to be the core message.
It highlights that transformative potential, with solar PV right at the heart of it, and just how vital those integrated solutions are, connecting electricity, heat, transport, fuels.
It's a systems thinking approach.
And it definitely makes you think, doesn't it? If a country like Chile, with these amazing renewable resources, could become a world leader in clean energy and green fuels, what lessons could other countries learn from that? What could you apply from this thinking elsewhere as the whole world grapples with this transition?
It's a fascinating case study with potentially broad implications.
Absolutely. Something for all of us to consider. We definitely encourage you, the listener, to explore this study further if you're interested. Again, the full title was The Impact of Renewable Energy and Sector Coupling on the Pathway Towards a Sustainable Energy System in Chile.